This video is sponsored by DJ the Lazy Gamer, Zach Haji, and Zachary Hayes. In the countless possible timelines one could view of the Dragon Ball world, from the truly interesting and deviant ones to the original story, to the dull and slight shifts of some scenarios, there is likely none as obvious as the concept of Goku and Bulma becoming a couple. This is partly because we know Toriyama himself and a lot of official sources that dealt with Dragon Ball media definitely at least toyed with the idea. Bulma's reaction to seeing 18-year-old Goku in the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament saga being the only real evidence one needs to see this. But you could also point to the fact that Toei Animation seemed to really love the concept, as they stuffed the original Namek arc with a lot of filler where Bulma is just kinda delicate to being a damsel in distress who low-key swoons over the idea of Goku coming in to save her at some point, and how good looking he's become. And as an honorable mention, because they aren't an official source, but yet they are a very influential one, you have the fact that both MasakoX and Quaman, two really big pillars of the Dragon Ball What If community in a way, both gave very early on and influential takes on the concept on YouTube, which from the various unlicensed streams of Dragon Ball Super in the late 2010s, to the rise of some of the community's favorite games, stories, yes, what ifs, and the creators which produced them, Dragon Ball came to really flourish on this platform, and something about that is just all very thematic to me. The other part to why this concept is so intriguing to so many, I believe, lies in a lot of readings of Bulma and Goku's friendship, resulting in seeing the two do have some genuine chemistry. It's a very different relationship between Bulma and Yamcha though, for example, because when they meet, they instantly had this moment of recognition of being aware of romance and carnal stuff, and on some level being attracted to the other. And then they are just kind of stuck being that of romantic interest and maybe lovers, but really very little else, because the relationship becomes a gag pretty much, and then kind of cynically a tug on the heartstrings when Yamcha dies in the Saiyan saga. That's pretty much all we get from it though. Vegeta's relationship with Bulma is also different from Yamcha's though. He and Bulma came to be partners, parents, confidants, lovers for sure, and yeah, friends. Not that you couldn't call Yamcha Bulma's friend, I just feel like that part of their relationship didn't really develop until later, you know? But yeah, Vegeta and Bulma's relationship is much deeper just because they have more connections, so by default it is. The thing is, Goku and Bulma also come to have a lot of connections and bonds. Their relationship is initially that of companions, then partners, a bodyguard and a client almost at one point, then that of a teacher and a student at times, and an older and younger sibling for the majority of the rest of it. And the very interesting thing is, when you look back on the story, Toriyama also had a very similar opportunity / moment for telling a story with Bulma that he ends up running with in Chi-Chi. It's just used up on Bulma bribing Goku with peeking instead of anything which could have led to a relationship later on. Which is understandable, noticing the two characters' age gap at the time and being 12 and 16. Cause I mean, in fairness, that would be a 10th grader showing attraction to a 7th grader. It wouldn't bring a new meaning to robbing the cradle, would I don't want to touch that. But number one, there are gags which have aged much worse than the idea of a 4-year age gap between characters who canonically show no real attraction / interest in the appearance of the other until Goku is 18. And number two, when Goku is 18 finally, Toriyama once again teases the concept for the sake of a joke again, showing he himself was open-minded enough to the concept by that point at least. But I digress all this because understanding he wasn't really interested in writing romance in the first place, and a few other eccentricities, I try not to place too much importance on Sensei's specific take here, for once at least. Now it is true, typically in life, long-term friendships really don't end up becoming romantic, it's just not that common. And that becomes even more so true when you have a power dynamic like one friend being a few years older and more mature than the other, or to be even more specific, one being able to destroy the planet and the other invent time travel. Though I think this specific instance is definitely much more possible than some would expect on their first glances. And to try and make it happen in a much more organic way, I'd like to make a few small changes, as I usually do, that make a large difference overall, even from other versions of the scenario. Our first change lies primarily in that the personality and outlook of Bulma. We won't be changing her drastically, but we will be using a much more modern interpretation of the character who's aged a bit more to extrapolate what a younger, for lack of a better term, less boy-crazy Bulma would behave like. This version of the character during some of the schooling necessary to receive her various awards, diplomas, or doctorates would actually take a little time for self-care and use some of her time and family's money to enjoy herself with people her own age, including boys she'd likely be attracted to. This means foremost that this version of the character could be interpreted as smarter, but also the character gets some dating experience and overall greater social experience that our canon counterpart never did at this point. This means by the time she's looking for the Dragon Balls, it's simply out of curiosity on whether the legend is true or not, The motivation of a perfect boyfriend, a concept she'd more than likely be aware of, really doesn't exist at this point. Or an amount of strawberries she could very easily purchase as opposed to a dangerous journey aren't really here for her. It's just her curious mind driving her to go on an adventure. This does also mean Bulma's confidence and self-esteem is likely also going to increase, so this version of her could also be a bit more haughty and self-righteous as a kid to still show that she isn't truly a mature adult yet herself, which I'm coming to realize now actually would make her a lot more like Vegeta. But that also means that Bulma will be a bit more focused and prepared, so I guess that's also a good thing. Our next and last change lies in Grandpa Gohan's rearing of Goku. We get confirmation in the first meeting with Bulma that Grandpa Gohan did try to instill some understanding of gender-specific manners to Goku that his young mind pretty much is boiled down to be nice to girls. For whatever reasons, this timeline's Gohan gets a little bit further into this lesson. Not enough to make Goku into some kind of suave ladies man or professor of societal norms and tropes, but definitely far enough into the birds and the bees that Goku has an understanding of his own anatomy and a description at the very least of the female anatomy. And maybe even a vague mention of the possibility of people or beings that fall between, as this is a strange wide world. Trust me, Dragon Ball has beastmen. The societies depicted have likely become fairly progressive when you really think about it. This also means the concept of modesty and indecent exposure are something Goku grasped earlier, and this just allows us to avoid a lot of instances where Goku just outright touches people inappropriately. This change, unlike Bulma's, isn't as straightforward to make, I recognize. I actually think the best way to carry it out would be the development of this timeline's Grandpa Gohan possibly or formerly being married or still having a wife currently who he's grown old next to. But I personally think that's actually a concept meaty enough to warrant its own scenario, as it could lead to significant changes. As such, I already have the idea on my to-do list, so let's go with the version of Gohan having yes been married and was very happy at that, and despite his wife being able to bear children, they still loved each other very much and enjoyed their time together. But sadly, Grandpa Gohan's wife had passed away before him, and the old man is just incapable of finding it in himself to want to move on and simply enjoys his solitude as much as he could, considering, until the grandchild always out of its reach appears from the stars. That just means that Gohan is raising a child not just with his own perspective and insight, but also that of Goku's late grandmother. This is also some information that I think could make Kid Goku a little sad, as it's somebody he just never really gets to meet, but he has to mourn anyway. And I think having a proper grave to learn how to mourn over leads to no real association of anyone's spirit with the 4-star Dragon Ball. It's just a nice trinket here because Grandpa Gohan liked it. And when the incident with the Uzara takes place, Goku would mournfully carry out the act of laying his grandfather to rest next to his late wife, and sheds a tear knowing he won't see his grandparents again until he too reaches the other world. So, by the time of their meeting, our more matured and experienced Bulma meets our more knowledgeable and well-mannered Goku. The car accident and shooting still happen, but Bulma doesn't try to bribe Goku with peeking, as she'd likely be able to guess he isn't really interested in girls due to his reactions to her. Not only that, he doesn't have a strong connection to the 4-star Dragon Ball. It's something he would really be willing to part with. So their meeting is a lot more cordial at first. Bulma doesn't feel very insulted by how he's reacting to her, it's just kind of noticing how he is. Goku apologizes for the trouble and still invites her to lunch at his house, where she sees the Dragon Ball and asks for it, causing Goku to reveal its origin and show just a little bit of apprehension of getting rid of it, just out of pure sentimentality. In response, Bulma comes up with the simple idea of explaining the legend and showing Goku the radar which led her to him. She offers him the deal to come along and be her protection since he's seen to be super tough. They could see that the legend was true together and have a lot of fun, and no matter what, they'd be able to retrieve the 4-star Dragon Ball afterwards anyway. Meaning Goku is more quickly convinced, as this more self-assured Bulma not being mad at him due to turning down her advances on him would seem a lot nicer and fun to be around. If we still had the pterodactyl swoop in, I think Goku would do a little better in saving Bulma, possibly using the power pole to extend off the bike and catch her after defeating the monster itself. Maybe his grandpa would have had to do stuff like this all the time and told him the best way was not to jostle the person he was helping, as it makes them a bit cranky afterwards. Again, just kind of referencing love stories from this grandmother that Goku didn't get to meet. This all endears Bulma to Goku more, as he is now kind of like a little hero, still describable as a country bumpkin, but his manners and sensitivity aren't as lacking. Meeting during this journey, these two are set up to become better and closer friends as they help each other out. This also gives a lot of opportunity for the foundation of future feelings to be laid down earlier and more solidly, like that first night spent together. I don't think this version of Goku has to really learn what a bath is or to be helped in taking one, so that also avoids some of Bulma's anger that night, and possibly her realizing his tale is real, though realistically there are tons of ways she could otherwise see that. It doesn't necessarily just have to be him scrubbing his back with it. Regardless, Goku's parentage is still brought up, As Bulma understands, he had grandparents and so assumed he likely also had parents somewhere out there, but she is shocked, saddened, and surprised by his ignorance of that knowledge, and seemingly nonchalant care of it either. Now, along with a curious mind's inherent interest in someone as weird as Goku, there is now something else. Bulma can recognize the inherent unluckiness and unfairness of his situation compared to hers as an heiress to the greatest amount of wealth in her world, coming from a pretty loving and supportive family at that. In comparison, Goku had nothing but a shack and a Dragon Ball, and even weirder, his infectious positivity never seemed to waver. So again, this endears her to him, and I think this Bulma inadvertently comes to really care for and worry about Goku's well-being a tad more than she did in canon. The events with Turtle and Master Roshi can nearly run the exact same, though I will be changing this timeline's Bulma into begrudgingly selling Master Roshi her unmentionables in exchange for his Dragon Ball instead. A weak change admittedly, but it helps her maintain a bit more dignity since Goku has no reason to go exploring and throwing her stuff away. I am very much trying to modernize Dragon Ball in some spots and still maintain some of its core jokes, gags, and feelings. Our events with Oolong change a little as I think Goku's greater understanding of what's being asked of him would pretty quickly cause him to just straightforwardly challenge Oolong without holding anything back, making the pig submit a lot faster and give up his hostages, joining the team and moving us along quicker. Also, a more focused and aware Bulma wouldn't end up losing her Horpoi capsules, and so the group continued to travel and sleep in relative luxury, making them a much more attractive target for a certain desert bandit. When Yamcha comes calling though, Bulma's greater experience to boys clues her into the aversion he seems to have towards her, and she quickly recognizes his fear of women. I think that would make her knowingly back off a bit and negotiate with him, using that as a bit of leverage, as she did earlier with Goku actually. The fact that she'd likely find him attractive and notice he's her age also wouldn't hurt in getting her to do this. Bulma tries to convince Yamcha into actually joining them on their journey and asks him to act as one of her bodyguards. With he and Goku, no one will mess with them and they'll collect the Dragon Balls easy peasy. This would also help her in making sure Goku wouldn't be in too much danger as he tried to protect her. She understands she can't be the one to save him if he has to save her, so having friends to rely on is helpful in this situation. And I think Yamcha could be swayed by the rhetoric, but his fear makes him hesitate, causing Puar to pull him to the side and pep talk him into it. This Bulma lady was obviously loaded, looking at the capsule she had access to, and she didn't seem like a bad lady all that much. Maybe this could help him get over his fear of girls as well as being a big payday for them. Still hesitant, Yamcha speculates it could be a trap, but Puar counters by reminding that her muscle looks like an elementary schooler. Because if Goku and Yamcha don't fight at first, what means we get to play into the old gag of Goku being underestimated a little bit longer with them. Convinced, Yamcha agrees to travel with the Dragon team in exchange for compensation once they reach their goal, but a single stipulation is he and Bulma have to maintain a healthy 6 feet distance between each other. With the journey for the Dragon Ball's crew completed much faster, we get an excuse to remove Yamcha as a recurring antagonist for gags, meaning we can have time where the team can have friend/found family bonding time, pretty much. The Pilaf gang can also act in a bit more of their antics and maybe attempt to steal the Dragon Balls a few more times. Or maybe have Yamcha and Goku act as a deterrent and they still don't. One thing that I think would definitely happen under this circumstance is some friendly sparring between Goku and Yamcha. The former does canonically have a morning workout routine that if Yamcha were to see, even if he never fought him, would be interested to test himself against. I think you then very naturally get the revelation of Grandpa Gohan's martial artist past, which intrigues Bulma a little more than it did Yamcha in canon, especially when she sees how in his element and alive Goku becomes when he fights with another martial artist. So she realizes much earlier that Goku is born to do this, like she is born to invent. This is where his genius lies, which again forms another bond of kinship between the two. I also think seeing Yamcha relax and be himself around Goku and begin to more easily slip into the big brother role also helps endear her to him more, and can help in beginning to work on him getting over his phobia. By the time we arrive at Fire Mountain, the team is a little closer and stronger, as the events play pretty much the same with Yamcha on our side from the beginning. After retrieving Chi-Chi and destroying her home with Master Roshi, Goku is offered a spot to train under the turtle helmet. Under these circumstances, Yamcha procures one by asking once his little friend is offered, and Chi-Chi still would express her infatuation with Goku, who is aware enough to be flattered but turns her down, something Bulma actually takes a keen interest in. Goku explains that he just doesn't have any interest in that stuff right now. Thinking about it though, he does recognize his growing desire for more friends and to go and meet more new interesting people. Especially his steadily deepening desire to become better and better friends with Bulma, his first and best friend. I think Chi-Chi would understand, but doesn't want to accept this, and so in this timeline, would actually see her wanting to join the Dragon team in order to show Goku that they actually are perfect for each other. And so in this timeline, Chi-Chi joins the team. With Yamcha on our side and he and Goku a little stronger, I think the Rabbit Mob incident is pretty much avoided quicker, leading into the final confrontation with Pilaf. When the team in this timeline is confined, this time with Chi-Chi, Bulma, being a little smarter here, quickly thinks of a way for the crew to escape as Goku still has extending power pole. She gets the idea to have Goku extended so far that it breaks through the walls of their cell and lets them out. Though when Goku begins to try the plan, he ends up forcing the red rod to go through the entire castle and begins struggling to pull it back out. The entire gang then begin trying to help him move it, making them struggle against it and causing the castle to slowly shake. As mostly through the power of Goku and Yamcha, the castle slowly began to be cut in half and collapses as the crew escapes from it. Now on the clock, racing towards the Pilaf gang as Shenron is summoned, Goku is too focused on the dragon to look at the moon directly above him, and so he uses the Nimbus to rocket he and Bulma as he holds her and flies to the dragon's face, where her words will reach its ears before Pilaf's. Though Bulma's wish had already come true, the dragon in front of her satisfied her curiosity over the legend, and now her new curiosity was to learn who were Goku's parents and what's his origin. Shocked by Bulma's wish, there, Goku and all present learned that he was once known by another name and comes from a nearly dead race, though, as the dragon once specifically asked the people's name, he does not yet reveal it, finishing the wish by revealing the names of the father, Bardock, and the mother, Gine. With that, Shenron disappears, and once he is gone, they still have to deal with the angry Pilaf gang, but afterwards, Goku is very thankful to Bulma for using her wish on him. She states that she was very happy to do it, and did so for her own curiosity as well, and asked Goku if he'll be up for another journey so they can learn more someday. They were both now closer to finding out the secret of Goku's power, and it only made Bulma want more answers. So obviously, the idea is an instant yes, and subconsciously, the two are both flattered by the idea that they both like spending time with each other. From here on out though, a lot of original Dragon Ball begins to match up, majorly with canon, just with our Bulma and Goku of this timeline showing an incredible closeness. Truly, they are best friends. I think Bulma and Yamcha would still end up dating, but much sooner realize that they're just better off as friends. I also think with Chi-Chi being on the Dragon team, she would end up accompanying Goku and Yamcha to Kame House to train under Master Roshi to again stay close to Goku. And with all their friends going, I don't see why Bulma wouldn't go to Kame House or at least come and visit very frequently during the 8 months of training for the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament. During this time though, I think something very interesting would happen, and that Chi-Chi learning under Master Roshi would end up being contracted by Bulma to teach her a few basics in self-defense. Asking Goku or Yamcha was an option, yes, but I think Bulma would realize that they're not really the best suited to teach her specifically. And if Bulma's going to be around, then there's a very high likelihood that Launch actually doesn't get involved in the group here. But for simplicity's sake, let's say that Bulma declares she's not doing any chores for Roshi and would rather build him a robot than dare do so. So Launch still gets to be a part of our family. Also, Launch will probably be more affectionate towards the more chivalrous Goku in the face of Yamcha, Krillin, and Roshi being around. Other than this, having a few more rivals and training partners around while he's getting ready for the 21st tournament would make Goku and everyone else a little bit stronger too. Because of that though, it doesn't really see a bunch of significant changes in this arc, other than this being the first canonical appearance of Grade 8 for us to see. And it causes Bulma, aware of Goku not really being human, to try and protect the rampaging monkey and explain to Jackie Chun the situation, going so far as to step in front of him before he could fire a full power Kamehameha at Goku, as he quickly connects Goku to be the beast that killed his student as well. Though panicking and trying not to hit Bulma, he ends up firing and hitting the full moon instead. Another curiosity to Bulma when this causes Goku to revert back to his base form. But that's really the only change there. I could also see some of the interim time, like between the 21st and 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament, where nothing really happens, being another place where Goku and Bulma use the Dragon Balls to learn more about Goku's people and his past, coming to learn of the Saiyans and their actions in the universe, and maybe even the knowledge that Goku has a living relative out there. Everything else is pretty much the same, just slightly stronger characters with a little more camaraderie. We maintain this up until the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament, and the debut of King Piccolo Jr. Chi-Chi much stronger than her canon self and likely is closer to Goku, and as a member of the Kami school, having chased Goku's back for years now, wagers her pride as a maiden against him. If she defeats him, then he will have to marry her, and if he defeats her, then she will finally give up on him. Of course, the conclusion is pretty simple to guess, but still, Bulma finds herself surprisingly cheering for Goku harder than ever. If she was attracted to canon Goku at this age, I can only imagine that would increase 100-fold in a Goku she herself has already been much closer to and in tune with, along with his greater manners and her own impact in shaping who he is now. Let's just say a Bulma who knows what she wants isn't going to hesitate when she sees it. That, however, could get Bulma into trouble, like maybe causing her to try and interfere with the battle against Piccolo Jr. to get a senzu bean to Goku, who has to protect her from Jr. as he retaliates. Empowered by fiery anger and passion he's never felt towards a friend before, Goku declares no one is allowed to hurt his best friend, and defeats Piccolo a bit easier, causing the Namekian to retreat with a wider power gap to close, and for Bulma to express her affection for Goku and propose to him herself. A concept Goku is very surprised, and yet finds himself weirdly excited by, though he also feels some nervousness. He can't really explain though. Ever fearless and curious of what was to come next though, Goku says yes, making Chi-Chi a tad sad, but more so happy for her friends, as the world's safety is celebrated with a wedding on Kami's lookout, and with only a few friends due to Bulma's eccentricity. After the ceremony though, the newlywed wife shows her husband her wedding gift to him. It was a Capsule Corp spaceship, something she'd been secretly helping her father with for a long time. She announces that she wanted their honeymoon to be in the stars, and that it'd give Goku an opportunity to search for that family member. But this is where we'll leave our story off for right now. Hey guys, I hope you really enjoyed this take on the idea. I've always seen Masako and Kwame as really big inspirations to myself, at least as a creator, and they were the first on the platform to really cover this scenario, with Masako really going above and beyond with his rendition. I really wanted mine to be set up really differently and end up playing out really differently, and with all due respect, better if I could manage that. With the setup of the 5-year time skip between Piccolo and Raditz now having a major divergence in a much earlier space adventure, I've definitely found some success in the different take goal that I had for myself. But with your continued support and feedback, I will hope to be really good in reaching the quality goal that I also have for myself in this one. Like, one thing I can myself very easily recognize here is this video is kind of short, and a lot of the things that probably need fleshing out here really don't get that much time to flesh out. Like, Goku goes from turning down Chi-Chi to being actually really open to the idea of wanting to be with Bulma. That's something that has to get explored more later on. So if you enjoyed this part, please be sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, share it with the friends on social media, Twitter, Reddit, whatever you have. Be sure you subscribe, because I'm pretty sure about 45% or so of the people who watch my videos actually are not, and hit the bell so you get all notifications when I upload. Also, thanks to Maxi Uchiha22 as always for supplying the official character and video game renders used, all musicians and composers contributing to the soundtrack listed for the project, and our amazing patrons for helping keep the lights of the channel on when ad revenue is not very consistent. In the hero tier, Lone Wolf McQuaid, Stefan Consferent, Superior, and Samuel Viveros. In Shinobi tier, The True Black Star and Shannon Roberts. In Z Warrior tier, Narku in Normandy 1998. In Beyond tier, Crimson Manifesto, Don, Pizza 15X, and Knuckles OX. And in the Plus Ultra tier, DJ the Lazy Gamer, Zach Haji, and Zachary Hayes. Also, one more special honorary shout out to Zen Lucas Divers, aka Burning Blood Sanji, a moderator in our Discord channel and personal friend of the channel. He actually ended up being one of the only people to really give this script a good look over and gave me some feedback, and it was nice to have and gave me some confidence when I really needed it. Regardless, thank you all for your amazing support, as well as those who have clicked the little join button down to become channel members and stuff. Please stay tuned, special member exclusive stickers and emojis are coming soon. But with that, I am done with this one, you guys. I hope you all enjoyed, and be sure to take care of yourselves and the world around you. Remember, Black Lives Matter, trans rights are human rights, and that I love you. As always, go beyond, plus ultra, and see you guys next time.